Hi, my name's Sean Golden. I'm a fly tyer for over 40 years. It started back in about 1980. And when I started tying flies, I actually had a pair of needle nose pliers and a piece of scrap metal that I had jammed them into to hold the hook. And I spent about 6 months tying flies that way. So when I bought this Thompson Model A Vise, that was a big deal. It was one of the most anticipated purchases I think I've ever made, was getting this thing and using it to tie flies for probably about 10 years. Tied hundreds of flies, including big old bass flies. So everything from a size 22 to size 8, 8/0, it maybe, I can't remember exactly, but any fly you would ever want to tie for freshwater fishing, at least. Like I said, including some big old bass bugs. So this thing will flat hold a hook. It's not really one of the more appreciated tools these days, but it was a big deal for me, and it worked for me for a long time. I did replace it eventually with this guy. It's a Regal Vise. And the great thing about the Regal Vise is it has this wonderful little lever action where you pry the jaws apart and hook goes in and comes out just as easy as you can, and it holds it just as tight, just as well. Tied hundreds and hundreds more, probably thousands of flies with this one. I've had it for 20 years, and really love it. Love it to this day. It's one of the most appreciated purchases I've ever made in my life. So why am I replacing it? Well, it doesn't rotate, and I think that's what everybody wants to see now. And tying flies, I mean, the one thing that I do have to admit is a little frustrating is tying a fly and then, getting it out of the vise and flipping it over and seeing that there was something on the other side that you didn't notice when you were tying it. So this, I hope, will take care of that and make sure that my flies in the future I can look at from all sides. I'm not as interested in using the rotation to put materials on, but probably will. I mean, that's just getting used to it. Anyway, I'm going to get these things out of the way, and we're going to unbox this new vise that I bought. It is called the Griffin Odyssey Spider, although it just says Odyssey Spider in the box. So, never done an unboxing, never done a YouTube video before. So this is new to all of us. Just pop that open. And there's just not much to it. One of the things when I picked it up on the porch today from being delivered, I thought, wow, that's awful light. That Regal is heavy vise. Anyway, so here's a C-clamp. I guess the first question is that going to be wide enough? And if not, can I use the Regal C-clamp? And I think I probably can. We'll see. But anyway, it looks like a pretty sturdy C-clamp for whatever that's worth. And there's the head. Looks light. I'm going to have to learn how to use it. And the post that holds the head. And then I forget what this thing is called. It's kind of a bobbin thread holder thing to keep thread out of your way when you're rotating the vise. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to put this thing together, and then we'll get back together and I'll give you my thoughts on it. All right, we're back, and here it is put together. Won't say it was simple, but it took about 10 minutes maybe total time. Definitely more complex than the Regal. Literally, the Regal has one moving part. But that's the whole point, is that this does so much more. Managed to get it to where it's rotating on that hook pretty well. It's not perfect. Didn't spend a lot of time on it. So I'll spend more time on it later. And I need to probably grease this up or oil it up. It's a little bit rough, I think, and just needs a little bit of maybe sewing machine oil, something like that. I'm just going to have to get used to this. This is the clamp, C-clamp that came with it. You'll notice I'm not using it. I'm not using it for a very good reason, which is that I have kind of a unique setup here because my table does not have a flat edge. It's got a beveled edge. So I've got a wooden board that I use to give myself a flat surface that I can clamp onto. So it's actually clamping onto the table and this board here. And that's a lot wider than any kind of normal table would be. So it's not really unusual, I think, or it's not really fair to grade this clamp that it won't fit my specific crazy setup. However, I will say it is definitely kudos to the Regal clamp that it does fit with room to spare. I mean, I could go probably another couple inches on the Regal and still clamp it down. But it doesn't really matter because I can use it and it seems to be working fine. This thing here is going to have to take some getting used to. I think it's going to be just too much in the way when I'm doing tying, so it's probably going to have to stay over here. And you can't just, it grips onto the post so tight that you can't really just yank it around. You have to hit this little spring loaded dealy here to get it to move without moving your vise. So haven't tied anything with it yet, and I'm going to zoom in on it here in a minute and then give a closer view of the vise itself. So question is, does it work, like you would expect? How tight does it hold the hook? Seems to be holding that hook just fine. I can tell that this knob here is going to be a little bit frustrating to deal with. I'm just going to mess around here and just put a feather on. Alright, so I'm tugging on that pretty good and it's bending the hook, but it doesn't seem to be bending the, so just running some quick tackle just to see. It seems to be okay. I don't really feel like I'm getting anything major league in my way. I will need to work out the specifics for where to put my material clip on here. I'm not quite sure the best place that would be. And might want to tighten this up a little bit too. Definitely nice to be able to see the whole fly. Does not feel, it's going to take some getting used to. It just doesn't feel sturdy like that Regal does. And I may end up continuing to use the Regal for certain things, but it is holding that hook really nice and tight. It's got this double screw thing. You use the little bolt here, little nut to get the, so I'll just show you that real quick. And keep in mind, I'm coming from press the lever, put in the hook. So now what you have to do is you have to get the hook in and then get this smaller screw tight. Just finger tight. And then once you've done that, then you crank on this one. And it's got a little lever action here that really tightens that down. It's a pretty cool design. And they make a lever action version that's a little more expensive than this one. This is their entry level one. But that's really nice and tight. And you can see that it's spinning around. It's not perfect, but I only spent 5 minutes trying to get it there. Typically, if I'm tying flies, I'm usually tying several of the same size hook. So, probably at least 6 or so. So it's not like I'm going to have to reorient this every time I do one. But obviously, if it's a bigger hook or something, then I'm going to have to readjust this stuff, which that's what you use this for, the little hex thing. And it doesn't fit perfectly. You got to work it in there a little bit, which is a little irritating. So I guess the jury's kind of still out on this a little bit. I will continue to use it and let everybody know what I think about it. But at least for right now, it feels like it'll work. The stuff's not really in my way. I mean, I thought that this knob here was going to be annoying, but so far it hasn't been that annoying. Took a little bit of figuring out to get this set up. The instructions aren't very clear about that, and I'm not the only one who has pointed that out. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I tied that hackle just fine, and I think it'll work fine. Just going to take some getting used to. Anyway, thanks everybody, and if you're in the market for one, this was less than $100. I probably paid $100 for that Regal 30 years ago. Anyway, there you go. Thanks.